Welcome back to another Jazz basketball game breakdown. Another 3-point shooting barrage from a team against our lovely zone. Weird how that happens.
And you know that as soon as teams get a chance to scout it, to work on it, it's kind of a short-term gimmick,
Right.
to be honest. There's some times you can throw in a zone for a couple possessions and catch a team off guard.
For
That's
sure.
real. But for it to be your main go-to thing and to claim that that's what's going to turn your season around or something like that, that's not real in the league.
Yeah, there's a reason why teams in the NBA don't consistently run zones. Why when they do, it's in spurts and stuff like that. The NBA's got too many good shooters throughout the entire league to do that, especially on a team like this that are running a lot of shooters right now. We run a zone, and so then we run a 3-2 zone, which then we start to get killed on the offensive boards, which is what happens when you run a 3-2 zone. You will get beat on the boards. It is a given.
And we got out-rebounded this game, one of the few in the season. Um,
And our 3-2 zone, to make things worse, we have our two best rebounders out on the wing up top.
yeah, there was a stretch where we had, what was it, Olenek and Horton Tucker down on
Yeah, Olynyk and Horton Tucker were our bottom guys.
our post guys.
Cool.
Kind of interesting. And if you looked at a lot of the lineups when they made their run, you're talking about Niang on the court. You're talking about Sam Merrill, who, I mean, I'm repping my Utah State hoodie tonight. I didn't want it to be that good of a game for him. Man, that dude can shoot.
Yes, he can.
Props to Sam, local kid, heck of a game. That's cool. Cool story for him. Not good for us. But if you look at slow, unathletic lineup that they had, small, we should have been able to match up to that with a fast, athletic, man-to-man defensive squad
Right.
that we've had success with in the past. I mean, Agbaji didn't really play that many minutes. Taylor Hendricks didn't see the court at all. Dunn didn't see that many minutes because
all of a sudden we can't play defense.
And our defense is getting shredded. I don't know. It seems kind of simple to me. As far as the matchups in those lineups, where the fourth quarter, I mean, they went on a, what was it, 19-2 run or something like that?
Something crazy like that. There was a point we were like 1 for 8 or 1 for 9 shooting from the field in the fourth quarter, and weird that was all during Taylor Horton Tucker pound the dribble ball, and like he got to the free throw line a few times and stuff like that. But like, be honest. Do any of you guys enjoy watching Taylor Horton Tucker play basketball? Like, legitimately, do you enjoy watching that crap? Because there's a reason we went 1 for 9. Even when Tucker started to catch fire, we went 1 for 9 because he's just pounding his freaking dribble every single possession. No one else on the court sees the ball. Yes, he had 11 assists tonight. Watch it. How many of those were good assists? At least half those assists, 5 or 6 of those assists were because he's pounding his dribble, ball bounces around, pings back to his hand, and he kind of like, throws it to somebody through the mess that ends up being open and ends up hitting a shot. 5 or 6 of the assists tonight came from that specifically. It's not good ball. It's not good offense. It's not a good way to get your team involved and be successful for a team. It's a great way to have a successful player. It's a great way to have a guy look like he's getting really good numbers and, it's just a team that he's playing around. It happens on a lot of bad teams when you bring in one major score or anything like that. They'll put up a lot of numbers, and it's like, they're just playing with an awful team. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes they're just not helping the team around them. There are players that can look good on a box score, but not actually be beneficial for a team when they're heavily involved in that kind of usage. Also, we mentioned last video, awful defender. He is every single time screened, he is 3 steps behind his guy. So our entire defense is now trying to rotate and everything like that. It's just so bad.
I always watch, what do teams prepare for? That's where you can really measure the respect of the teams that you're playing. You can tell tonight, Cleveland's team prepared for Colin Sexton. They had Isaac Okoro on him.
Yeah.
They were making sure that they were hedging in a little bit extra on the sides where he was driving. He still ended up with 20 points, still shooting decent 3-point percentage. We've yet to see teams really prepare for Taylor Horton Tucker because if I'm an opposing coach, here's why I think that is. If I'm an opposing coach, I don't think that what he does swings the game in the Jazz's favor.
Correct.
So I don't care about it enough to spend the valuable time of practice and preparation on that. I would instead spend a whole ton of time on Lauri Markkanen, right? Making sure that our guys know not to just blindly go to the hoop every time, because Kessler will get 7 swats.
Yeah.
And in this one you can see they prepared for Sexton, but I haven't seen a team yet really prepare and get their team ready to face Talen Horton-Tucker as one of the main threats of the team. Well, I think that speaks volumes.
Well, and the thing is, even if you look back to last year when Tucker was getting crazy high usage because there was no Clarkson or anything like that towards the end of the year, how many games do we actually win when Tucker goes off? Not many. That's fair.
The Spurs.
Yeah. Yeah. But not many. How many times when he has a big game do we actually win? Not often. It doesn't happen that often. There's a reason behind that.
And the last couple have been kind of alongside Sexton. Sexton going off, and I mean, those just trying to think of the last couple of the handful of wins we've had out of the last 5 or 6 games we played. I don't know. I'm pretty frustrated with Taylor Hendricks not getting a single minute. Once again, we've talked, if that's the case, get him minutes in the G League,
Yeah.
Leave him home. Make sure he's getting a whole ton of minutes there. I'm not sure what's going on in that part. There were still a handful of times where the way that we would switch on our defense off of a cutter or a screen or a slip screen that they would do, there is zero communication. Sometimes it just makes no sense, which is why you'll see a player like Fontecchio running halfway across the key following a guy he thought was his, but somebody else hid in an odd manner. And the one time it was Sexton, cut with the guy over the top of him. And so all of a sudden it left a guy on the backside wide open.
Right.
The communication there is, I would like to see us use a little bit less of our prep time on zone defenses and maybe kind of define clear-cut roles.
Right.
As far as on defense. That would make a lot of sense to me. But I'm not an NBA coach. But that's some of the things that were kind of clearly out there tonight. The way that we were switching so many times without any discussion. That's why we would have 2 players who are both hustling. They're both trying, right? They're working their butts off, but no communication and no preparation, not enough preparation beforehand. Just makes it sloppy out there.
And that's a big thing you mentioned, is the no communication. Is if you're in a heavy switch offense or defense or anything like that, it is super important that is being constantly called out. Because there's going to be times where you don't switch, right? You have to have keywords, even a simple switch, switch and stay, whatever. But something that you are constantly calling out and communicating together as you go through those motions, or that will happen. That you end up eventually, if they move the ball well, you will end up somebody going the wrong way.
Yep, and that was clear that happened. And then you got to give a little bit of props to the Cleveland coaching staff and some of the changes they made second half. They ended up making like
13 threes in the second half.
Threes to our 3 in the second half. And, I mean, they obviously picked apart the zone the few times that we went to that. And a couple of times, I mean, Sam Merrill just made a great shot.
Just made incredible shots on some of them.
That release is lightning quick. Man,
he made a 3 over Olynyk and Agbaji, where they were both about as in his face as you could be. Yeah. It was incredible shooting by that dude. And another, like Markkanen tonight, 26 points, 10 rebounds, had a very good game, but went long stretches without touching the ball while being on the court.
And that's, some of that you can put on Markkanen, but my goodness, when we have a player out there that's just head down dribbling it every time down the stretch in the fourth quarter,
you're just living and dying behind it.
Yeah,
and we will die. most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of the time you will die by that method, and the numbers will eventually come back down to where they are. There's some hot streaks and cold streaks, and I don't know. I've seen certain kind of analysts try and cherry pick little stats here and there or a certain run, but we know historically what shooting numbers from 2 and 3 are going to be from players that have been in the league long enough.
Right.
So we know what it is. I was glad to see Fontecchio hit a couple of threes. He'd been on a real cold stretch.
Yeah, that was good to see.
I thought he was working hard. I thought that quite a few of the times, there was another time where there was a player that came up and screened Fontecchio a little bit from behind as he was out kind of marking a player. And as his player took off, I mean, Fontecchio couldn't even see the screen coming, so he didn't know that there was a switch, and Sexton already went with the other guy. There was another one from behind. The communication out there is just so lacking.
Very poor. Very poor.
And we've got a few players, like we said, that we think can be decent defenders, but I just don't know if that's been prioritized to them on what we're trying to do. So I don't know. We got another game tomorrow, real quick, against a very, very poor team at the Pistons.
Oof.
At the Pistons,
Better.
And I mean, but it's a treat to be able to watch Ausar Thompson play, y'all.
That dude, I was telling him and my dad, the numbers that Ausar Thompson is doing right now with like offensive rebound percentage, steal percentage, block percentage, assist percentage, and there was like 7 stats numbers that he is doing right now. He's the second player in NBA history, or he's like the 6th player in NBA history to do it, the second non-big man to do it, and the other one is Tracy McGrady. That's an incredible freaking list to be on.
Yeah, and just his feel for the game. He hasn't quite got the shoot. The shot isn't falling yet, which was kind of one of the concerns coming in the draft. But my goodness, the amount of things that guy does. And
if he becomes a good shooter, he literally is Tracy McGrady, which is terrifying because T-Mac, if you take away T-Mac's injuries, could have easily gone down as one of the greatest to ever play the game. Was one of the best offensive and defensive players at any point he was healthy. Kobe talked about it, that the hardest player he ever played against, ever had to play against, was Tracy McGrady because of his unique size, length, athleticism, and just how dang good he was. If Ausar Thompson can figure out how to shoot, that will be a freaking superstar.
Even if he can get an average shot.
Yeah, exactly.
So keep an eye on him. He's a rookie, playing fantastic. Detroit's been doing some weird stuff with their lineup throughout the year.
They barely played Jaden Ivey, who they took high in the draft 2 drafts ago.
Yeah.
We'll take him.
Yeah, we've had conversations about that. I mean, a young Jalen Duren, and they also have Marvin Bagley, who was a number 2 pick, and Wiseman, who was a number 2 pick, and they've got a whole kind of graveyard of
forgotten
high draft picks. Interesting. But keep an eye on Ausar Thompson. He's been a treat to watch. And some of the playmaking, the movement that he does, that he just makes look effortless, is such a high level dude. So love that dude. Would have loved to have picked him up, and
he's somebody we very much wanted in this draft.
That would have been freaking fantastic. But heading there tomorrow, and hopefully we can. I don't know. I would like to see us get back to kind of some of the defensive lineup physicality.
Yeah, it's just frustrating with the lineups we're running right now. Because there's not real growth out of the lineups. Sexton, who's been playing great, showed tonight why he's great as a 6-man. He did a lot of similar, just put his head down and not really look for a pass, which is fine out of a 6-man scorer to come in and just be super high energy, which he was. Incredible energy on the defensive end, does a lot of things that you absolutely love. He's just not that star player that he wants to be, which is why he's a great 6-man, because he has an incredible ability to come in and do that. And tonight really showed that. And the other lineups that we're doing, is just, there's not really a direction. Obviously we don't have Keontae anymore, but we're playing Tucker heavy minutes, who everyone knows who he is. He's in his 5th year. He's not continuing to get better. He's the same player. We're playing weird minutes with Kessler, and playing heavy minutes of Olynyk, not playing any Taylor Hendricks. And so just confusing right now to see a clear path to be a competitive team in the future.
I'm not sure where we are. I'm sure that sometimes Will Hardy, with a lot of the inconsistent performances of
His job is not
Sexton,
easy right now.
Horton Tucker. I mean, that's a tough. That's
His
a tough
job's
team.
not easy right now.
We complain about it quite a bit, but it is super tough. There's no question. There's some things that I think are no-brainers to me that he's not doing, and that's the part I get frustrated with. But to have this lineup would be super tough. And I mean, think about it. Clarkson and Keontae are about to come back. Then what the hell do you do?
Yeah. Trades. Realistically,
that wasn't what I was talking about. What are you going to do with who plays what and where? And we're back to the stuff at the beginning of the season again.
Yeah.
What do you do there? I mean, yeah, it's
Chris Dunn probably loses every second, every minute, and the concern is because now Fontecchio, he's decided is starting no matter what. Weirdly enough, all of a sudden Agbaji may just be fully out of the lineup.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling. So it's a very difficult job, but
yeah, there's no question that the lineup we have, the roster we have right now, is not a easy roster to coach. There's no question about that. We'll never deny that fact.
Yeah, that's tough.
It's just there's certain, like you said, there's certain things that you can see where it's just like doesn't make sense. You know, Tucker's one of them. A few of the rotation things are them. The defensive side of things are them. Those are the things we complain. Those are the things we get frustrated about. But
seems like we are wanting to be a hip, edgy offensive team.
Yeah.
When we don't really have the tools for it.
No. We can't decide if we're tanking or trying to win, man.
Or even just kind of the role, the type of a team that we are, as far as, I don't know, we talked about, kind of a defensive backbone. But yeah, that's tough. We had a commenter put out there that, you can tell that Hardy still has the team's ear and they're playing hard for him. Absolutely.
100%.
That's a great comment. Somewhere it's been obvious that he's a great communicator as far as at least getting his vision with individual players. We'll see how long that lasts. Or if we have changes, like we said, once we get into January.
Yeah, because January 6th, for you guys that don't know, is Clarkson is officially can be traded. Obviously, it came out that he's on the trade block. That's when any of that stuff can happen, is January 6th. So that's when we may not see anything until that time. We may still not see anything until the trade deadline.
Yeah, and typically when you first start seeing some of the trades, but it doesn't really go very fast, is in middle of January.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how that goes.
We will see.
Yep. We'll get Christmas late, maybe, but it would be nice to get some of those pieces moved just to be able to kind of clear up the roster, and because I have no idea what's going to happen with playing time and who's going to come in when Keontae and Clarkson come back.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens there. Very curious to see what happens there.
That'll be interesting to see, and we've got a long stretch of a bunch of games on the road, so this could be make or break. Not that it's going to make our season, like we're going to move on and go great things in the playoffs, but it could really be the time where we
could define really what we do this year with this roster.
Yeah, I mean, it could really seed us into a bottom 3 in the West,
because we are awful on the road.
Yeah, that's for sure. We could try to fly to Memphis just to see if they'd let us play again.
Try to get another game out of them.
Now that John Morant's back, I don't know if that's what we want to do, but we kind of missed our window for the last one.
Yeah, tomorrow's an early game.
Yeah, it is. Very early.
So hopefully tomorrow's a better game. Hopefully we see some good stuff tomorrow, but who knows at this point? I don't know what to expect right now.
Pray for Will Hardy.
Yes. Thanks, guys.